Hi everyone, it's Lindsay and I'm here today to share with you this see-through shaker card. I'm going to share with you how exactly I went about making this. I'm going to be using two Joy Claire stamps today. One is from their regular line, it's called Wild and Free. The other is from the Color by Faith series, and it is for Bible journaling, but I'm going to use it on a card today, and it's called Be Brave. Now the first thing I did was take an A2 sized craft card base and cut out that same die shape that I just cut from white cardstock. Now I have an A2 size panel here. I'm going to line this up right underneath the card front that I cut out, and I'm going to insert that die right back inside so I get perfect placement. Use a piece of painter's tape to hold it down and then run that through my die cutting machine, and that's going to be my two windows. I need two of those because I need a front and a back. Now I'm going to be creating my little scene here. So I have the mountains from the Wild and Free stamp set, and these are made perfectly to where you can connect them all together. So you can create a mountain range as long as you need it, which again, this would be great for Bible journaling or scrapbooking if you're into that. So you can get as long of a mountain range as you need with this. So also in that stamp set are these two little critters. I'm going to stamp both of those, and they have open kind of ends on them, and that is great because I'm going to need a place to connect them to this little canoe that I'm going to stamp next. And all of these I'm going to be coloring in very quickly with my alcohol markers. Now these all have little patterns on them, and they go along perfectly with the patterns that are in the Be Brave stamp set as well, so that's why I'm combining the two today. Now for the mountains, I'm not doing any shading here other than with just one marker. I'm going over the mountains a couple of times to darken them up. The only part on these I'm coloring is the part underneath the snow caps, and I will be fussy cutting these, so I'm not worrying about the bottoms very much at all here. Now the snow caps, I'm going to leave white. You could add a little bit of blue shading if you wanted to. I have enough to do on this card, so I decided not to go that route. But I'm just going to leave them white, and I'm not worrying about the mountain or the clouds, excuse me, because I'm going to cut them off. So I went ahead and fussy cut those once I was done coloring them. And I also colored in the little critters and the little canoe as well. And now I'm going to fussy cut them as well. Now I did go around all of the fussy cut edges with an alcohol marker. I did use my black alcohol marker, and I used my alcohol marker because I wanted it to bleed just a little bit with the fibers of the paper. It's going to darken up my stamped lines just a little bit and help them stick out from the coloring that I've done. Or if I've ended up cutting any of the coloring or the stamped lines off, that's going to fill that in as well. Now you can see on my little critters, I am leaving a little strip along the bottom of both of those. That's because I need somewhere to put adhesive later on to connect them to the canoe. So I went ahead and left that little bit right at the bottom so I could get all of the rest of them on there. So I didn't cut out any more of them. Now here's where I'm going to go ahead and take that alcohol marker, my black one, and just go along the cut edges. This is going to give it a nice defined edge. It's not going to look like I fussy cut it then. It's going to cover up a lot of my mistakes, and like I said before, it's going to go ahead and cover up any little mistakes I might have had cutting or stamping. Now for the coloring on my little teepee, I couldn't think of the name of it, but it's a teepee, and this is from the Be Brave stamp set, and you can see the little patterns on this match the patterns that are on the little critters and the canoe as well, so it goes perfectly together. I went ahead and quickly colored in that little teepee using some of the same colors that I used on the canoe and the critters, and then I fussy cut it very quickly, and I'll go over the cut lines as well. Now on the front of my card, I do want to go ahead and stamp my sentiment on a piece of acetate that's going to be the front of the card. So I've got the Hello Sentiment stamp set, and I've built up a happy birthday sentiment. I did use my embossing bag on the front of this acetate because it just attracts that embossing powder like you wouldn't have it. If you have any static whatsoever, even if you don't feel it, it's going to be there whenever you put your embossing powder on this. So just use a dryer sheet, use an embossing bag, but use something to get rid of that or you're going to have a mess. So I've got liquid platinum embossing powder from Ranger here. I'm going to sprinkle that right over the sentiment that I stamped with Versamark ink, and I'll just use a dry little paintbrush to go ahead and brush away any little extras And I am using a coffee filter underneath just to catch any of the little extra embossing powder that's falling off, and then I can funnel it right back into my container. Now this is acetate that is specifically designed to withstand heat. So if you don't have this acetate, be careful embossing. Anytime I've tried embossing on like packaging that I had left over or anything like that, I've melted it. So that's why I bought this. It is specifically designed to withstand that heat of the heat gun. It also goes very nicely through my laser printer if I ever want to do any digital stamping or anything like that on my acetate. I've got this ready to go and it can withstand the heat of that as well. One thing you don't want to do is get this wet though. It's got some sort of coating on it that kind of gets sticky when it gets wet. So I just use a dry baby wipe to go ahead and wipe away any extra little of that powder that's left over from the embossing bag. Now to put together this front shaker, I'm going to take that A2 panel that I went ahead and did the die cut in. This is the open panel, not connected to the card, and I went ahead and adhered that sentiment acetate piece right onto that, making sure it was facing the right way so it wasn't the mirror image or the back side of that sentiment showing through. Now on the front of the A2 card base, I'm going to go ahead and apply some adhesive, and then I've got a second piece of acetate, just plain, that I'll go ahead and put onto that. Now this is going to allow me to have a nice front side of the card, but not only that, it will also allow me to have a nice inside of the card. When it's open, you won't see any adhesive or anything with this little frame I'm creating here. Now with the fun foam, I've got some fun foam and double-sided adhesive strips ready to go. And on the front of the card, I'm going to go ahead and put it all around all four edges and just use my little scissors to clip it. Make sure I don't have any spaces in between there. I will use my embossing bag to give a nice dusting on the inside to lose any of the static. I'll peel off my backing paper from the adhesive strips. Then I'm going to insert some little sequins. These are little star sequins. And I'm just going to put a few on the inside here. And this is going to be a nice little shaker then, which you will be able to see from the inside or from the outside of the card. I'll go ahead and line up this front sentiment panel, put that right down on top, and now I've got a complete clear shaker card front ready to go. Now you can leave this as is. It's very cute. It's a nice little twist on a shaker card. But I'm going to go ahead and create a little scene on the outside and inside of my card. So I've got my little critters, and you can see here why I left that little kind of edge on the bottom there. I'm going to put some adhesive down on that, and then I can just attach these to the back of the canoe so it looks like they're sitting in that little canoe. Now I've got some die cuts here. These are the same die cut that I used to cut the frame. I've got a blue one that I die cut and also a green one. And I just created a nice sky and grass with some die cuts. On that grass panel, I am going to attach the mountains to the back to create a nice little scene. And I'll cut those flush so I don't have anything hanging off, because this is going to fit directly into that frame on the inside. So I've got that ready to go. I did apply some fun foam to the back of that for a little bit of added dimension. And I'm just going to go ahead and bump that right up against the bottom of that little white cardstock panel that I have. Now on the back of this entire scene, I'll go ahead and apply some more adhesive on there. You've got a whole lot of adhesive on this card, but you want it to stay together. Now, in order to get this exactly right, I'll go ahead and insert this into that frame on the front, close the back of the card, and pick that up. And now I know that it's exactly where I want it to be, and it's going to see through. You can see through straight to it, but it's also the perfect placement, so you don't have any craft showing when you have your card closed. Now I have my little TP that I created here as well. I'll put some more adhesive on the back of it, and it's going to go on the inside of my card. Now you can see here I've got the inside of my card completely done, but you can still see it from the outside of the card when you have it closed. But I still want to put those little critters on the outside of this card front. So I have a few little wave borders that I've made here, and these are again the same die cut that I used to create that frame and also the inside panel in my card. Now I'll go ahead and insert that right into, it fits perfectly because it is a die cut, but first I need to go ahead and put down my little critters. I want them to look as if they're floating in water. Now, one thing I didn't do here is create a backing for this. I wish I would have done that so you wouldn't see the the critters on the other side of the card. One way to get around that is not using alcohol markers for your coloring. Then it's not going to show through on the back of the cardstock. Or just create a little backing for it. Trace around it, cut it out. It'd be very simple to do. So once I had that completely down, I'll go ahead and open the card. And then on the inside panel, I'll go ahead and put this second wave border down. These are die cut the exact same length, so it's going to cover up that adhesive from the other wave panel. And there you have it, the entire see-through shaker card put together. This was a really neat card to make, kind of a different challenge, I guess, for myself to put this together and figure out exactly what pieces needed to go where and where to put the adhesive. But it was fun to do, and I am happy with the way it turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial. I'm going to leave you with a few pictures of the finished card. On the left side of your screen, you're going to see a few different links you can click on. The top will take you to a video you might enjoy watching next. The bottom left will take you to the supply list for this card. And the bottom right will subscribe you to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!